Hello, Algebra 2 folks. Welcome to solving with square roots, having the square roots be a negative number. That's where we're going to have to use those imaginary numbers. I equals the square root of -1. So you're going to need your notes and a pencil and a calculator, and we'll get started here. We only have about 3 examples. So example number 1, solve using square roots when you have a negative number. So what we do is, as long as we have x squared alone, which we do, we square root both sides. When we square root an x squared, we get an x. When we square root a -36, remember we get the square root of -1 and the square root of 36. That becomes, the square root of -1 becomes I, and the square root of 36 becomes 6. But don't forget, there's plus and minus. So the minute you square root, you should be putting in the plus or minus. Here's the catch. Don't put it in between the two square roots. There's a multiplication sign there. There's a multiplication sign between the 6 and the I. So do not put the plus or minus anywhere you'd like. Always make sure it goes in front of the square roots. All right, let's do another one. Okay, here we're going to subtract 18 from both sides. We have x squared equals -90. Square root both sides. The square root and x squared become x. The square root of -90 becomes plus or minus the square root of -1 times the square root of 90. But 90 can be broken down into 9 and 10. And if you're still struggling with that after a few times, you should be getting better at that. Thinking about all those perfect squares that we know. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, etc. Okay, so the square root of -1 is I, the square root of 9 is 3, and then the square root of 10 stays the same. And the plus or minus goes out in front of all of that. Okay, because these are all being multiplied. You don't put the plus or minus anywhere you'd like. Okay, let's do another one. Here we go. Here's like one that we've had a couple days ago with solving by square rooting. Remember, pretend that you have an x squared equals -4. What would you do? You'd square root both sides. So there's no distributive property. We're not distributing, okay? We're going to try to get rid of that squared. So the opposite of squaring is square rooting. We're going to square root both sides. Now we have x plus 9 equals plus or minus the square root of -4 can be broken up into the square root of -1 and the square root of 4. The square root of -1 is I, the square root of -4 is 2. Now I'm going to bring down the plus or minus. Now here is where I'm going to caution you. You cannot put that plus or minus anywhere you'd like. It has to go in front of this guy, these guys, okay? It has to go in front of what you have over here. Now, once you find x, what you're going to do is you're going to subtract 9 from both sides, okay? 9's cancel over here. We get x equals. Now, I don't write plus or minus 9. I write -9, because that's what I see, plus or minus 2i. So it's really important that you know how to write this, because if you write it in incorrect order, it will be wrong. So make sure that your plus or minus is in front of the square root of the negative number that you're working with, okay? Not the number that you're subtracting. All right, that's it. That might be the shortest video you've ever had. Congratulations. Have a great day. We'll catch you.